Yo, welcome to another episode of FXck The What If. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we're living through a global pandemic. Yes, it is November 2020, and unfortunately, Canada is still, Ontario specifically, is still seeing cases rise by the thousands, or by the hundreds, I guess, on a daily. And that means somebody's not doing the right fucking thing. So here we are. It's Monday. Let's talk about something serious. Feel free to use the hashtag FTWI on Twitter. I check that every now and then so we can continue the conversation off of this platform. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode this Monday. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So COVID-19. Who the fuck thought? Actually, I take that back. A lot of countries politically were aware. Obama says this, that I don't remember what president it was originally. I want to say it was Ronald Reagan. Fuck that guy, but sort of off topic, but whatever. He had a pandemic response. It was either him or George Bush, the first one, but somebody. Pandemic response, because they knew eventually, later on down the line, we were going to be exposed to a deadly virus, and we as human beings needed to develop a contingency plan for how we were going to survive and not die out like a fucking weak species. So of course, some places were better prepared than others. This has definitely displayed the strengths and weaknesses of a lot of countries' governments. Canada, the United States, China, Russia, Australia. Of course, Europe, places in Europe, just as a continent in general. Comparing, I just fucking named whatever. Anyways, bottom line, we're comparing how we're all dealing with it. And it's unfortunate that I live in Canada, in a country where we maybe had a rocky start, we were doing okay in the middle, and now we're just not doing the common sense thing. So I think it's important for us individuals to talk about ways that maybe we can evoke change in our communities, in our families, with our friends, within our circles, just to have in the forefront of our mind that we're not alone and we're literally all going through this together, and we win and we fucking lose together. So I do work in customer service. One of my jobs, I get to work from home. Thank God, it's my main job. So 5 out of 6 days I am home, and the other day I am in a I'm in a mall. I work in retail in a sporting goods store, and we do sell masks. We sell hand sanitizer. We are taking our own steps in the back room to, of course, abide by health and safety guidelines, or else we would not be able to be open. Do I agree with being open at these times? Absolutely not. Will I continue to work because I need money? Absolutely. Will I quit this job if I find out that something illegal or anti-COVID progress takes place in my workplace, or reporting it? Yeah, I will definitely. But luckily I have the confidence in my colleagues that wouldn't be in a situation of that sort. So working in the public sector with human fucking beings, it's safe to say that I have experienced a bunch of different things with people of all different types, different walks of life. This has definitely shown me how many people do care for others. Living in Ontario, living in Ontario, I'm just going to speak from my experience. We did not have masks mandated at the start of this pandemic. Masks were recommended. I remember doing my electronic training saying that you must be sanitizing every 15 to 20 minutes or in between every single customer interaction. I, thank God, don't really cash people out often. I pretty much, I usually keep my head down and am dealing just with mainly merchandise, so I'm sanitizing my hands because I don't really touch other people's items, if that makes sense. We do quarantine everything that gets returned or tried on. But at the beginning, what I was saying is that it was astonishing to me how few people wore masks. At first, I didn't wear one, but then in my city, cases were increasing, and I decided that I'm not around these people enough to be comfortable. I see too many people in the store. We did have a 35 customer maximum at that point, so it was pretty dead, or it felt pretty dead, but still deciding that I need to wear a mask because I do cycle through so many people that I can't say for sure that I'm safe or I feel confident in my safety and in the safety of my family if I'm not wearing a mask. So research was also saying at the time that it was better to wear a mask than not wear a mask. It was more beneficial, So logically, I made that decision to wear a mask when I did need to be interacting with an abundance of people. Unfortunately, not everybody thinks that way. So as customers, you're not you, but some are not very considerate, don't really care. Oh, I'm only going to be in here for 5 minutes. Why do I need to put on a mask? Because wherever you have been can impact me in my life during this. So please don't bring this disease to me or to others because you chose not to care. Or you decided that this was a minute thing. It's not. I did ask my sister, because we both work in customer service, her in retail more days than I am, if she had any experiences where she had faith lost or restored in humanity. And it's so much easier for her to come up with instances where she didn't have faith in humanity. The first being a literal meme, she saw it with her own eyes. Somebody pull down their mask and sneeze. The fact that his response to doing so when asked was that he didn't want to get his mask wet literally just makes me want to cry, just out of frustration, because it made me so dumb. But whatever. Of course, on a positive note, she was able to share at least one story where she did have some faith in humanity, and it was an experience with a young person. Now, just before I get into this, it's not super long or anything, but I just want to stress how important it is as people who are technology literate, people who know how to do research really well, people who are very good communicators, people who are teachers. I think it's very important that when we are in a certain age group or when an opportunity presents itself for us to bridge that gap of maybe a lack of education or ignorance in a polite way, not in a situation where you feel you're in danger, but if the circumstance calls for it, just using that small moment, you could change somebody's life, you could change somebody's mind, you could save someone's life. So no breath is a wasted one if the intent behind it is at least not super bad. But yeah, my sister works in a different location than I, and one of her managers unfortunately is at higher risk than many of the employees. So he does take extra precautions. He wears a face shield, he wears gloves, he has a mask on, he stands behind a plexiglass counter. And there was just one situation where at our service shop, where we service things like, I don't know, like skis, snowboard, skates, tennis rackets, like you name it, we probably can fix it or service it. A customer was just placing their usual like order or whatever, and her son had just gently asked her to just take a step back. She was not 6 feet, and it's really just small moments like that where we can hold the adults around us, we can hold the people who are in power around us accountable, and they actually do take the time to correct themselves. Just a little bit of a push in the right direction is at least chipping away at a repeated pattern. It's not something that's going to change overnight in anybody, but it is just a good... with this, everything counts. Like, every little thing counts. So, just being mindful of your situation, being considerate of other people, and maybe helping others is, if that's in your power, of course, by all means. I did want to just briefly touch on the fact that we wear masks. I love it. I've worked in customer service since I was 15, and there are so many circumstances where wearing a mask could have maybe saved my smell memory from unwanted smells. Also just giving me a little bit more space. I can yawn behind my mask. I can literally like show facial expression behind my mask. It's fantastic. Some of the things you people say without even realizing, young, old, whatever, just thank God you can only see like 30% of my face. That's for the sake of both of us. I hope we keep them. I think even after like they're no longer mandated, just for my peace of mind, I will continue to wear a mask. I think that regardless, just getting sick in general is not fun, and not dealing with other smells is great. I also just feel a little bit more safe, and like I have more personal space, if that makes sense. Another thing between myself and others, even in a public space. So I am 100% for the mask. Talking about masks in places like the United States where they don't have laws mandating it, where even in Canada, some small businesses just telling customers like, oh no, like you don't have to wear a mask, it's not required, ha ha ha. Like shit like that blows my mind. On top of not wearing masks, these social gatherings, at the very least, essential partying, I don't think that's a thing. I personally don't. Celebrations, things like that, totally unnecessary. However, if it is within the guidelines of your region, go for it. I think it's like 10 to 15 people right now, or 10 to 12. I don't know the exact number, but I'm not throwing any parties, so I don't care. I think that's important. Of course, if you're interacting with people you care about, you're not wearing a mask. So you probably don't think like, oh, why would I be affected by COVID? This is my friend. They're probably taking the precautions, but you're only as safe as your circle is. You're only as safe as the people you choose to surround yourself with. You're only as safe as they choose to be outside of your interactions. So keeping in mind that whoever you speak to, whoever you get close enough to for certain, like for whatever the exposure time is, just remember, like, you're putting yourself in some sort of risk. Today I did see a news break for London, Ontario, just stating that some 18 and 19-year-old kids were fined for having a party with over 100 attendees. Now, that's fucked. It's November. We've been dealing with this since March. The fact that you little fucking ignorant children decided to throw a party that large, decided that you didn't have the balls to tell people to get the fuck out of your house or not to come in the first place, is beyond me. I hope financially you suffer with those fines, and that your mother and father choose not to help you, or father, whatever, and or situation you're in, because truthfully, people need to be reprimanded, and they do need to feel the consequences of their actions if it is not catching the virus. To that note, the fact that Kendall Jenner had a party, and the worst thing that happened to her is headlines that are bad, social media backlash, people maybe not supporting her as much as they did before. I think that is the whole, like, that's the saddest part. The fact that people who definitely are not, who don't have the influence, who don't have the power to change people's minds, just reinforces the idea of their actions, like partying, not wearing masks, large gatherings being acceptable. It reinforces that bad behavior. So kids, like the ones that live in London, throw these fucking parties and face worse consequences, because they're role models or whatever. I'm not going to call them role models. The influencers that they see partake in these activities, and don't suffer these consequences. So I think it's very important for somebody, our communities, to hold these people who do have such reach accountable. But of course, we don't live in a perfect world. We can only hope for the best and do our small parts. So the last thing I did want to mention was these vaccines. So I am not an anti-vaxxer at all. I have all my shots. I've always had all my shots. My mother has worked in childcare her entire life. So I've always been up to date. I think that prevention, of course, is better than contracting something and having my immune system figure out how to deal with it later, because I don't know what I'm capable of dealing with. And I trust doctors, and I trust science to produce something that is going to save my life. So, with that being said, Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, those are the two companies that today, as I record this episode, have been requesting emergency vaccine approval, emergency use, with 90% and 94% effective rates, respectively, for both parties. All I want to say is do your research. To each their own. I understand that vaccines are 100% the key to going back to a normal life, the key to not having to wear masks, the key to fucking normal concerts again. But I am going to choose to educate myself and strengthen myself with the power of knowledge when it comes to choosing which vaccine is right for me, what is going to keep me safe, my family safe, and also not have negative impact in the long run. I advise you do the same, or whatever works for you, whatever you decide is right for you. Because in a time where we have access to so much information, like I said, there's still a whole lot of people who are ignorant and sheltered in their own way of thought, their own way of thinking. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm going to end that episode here. Thank you guys for listening to such a serious topic. I know this is not my usual content, but I did just believe that this is an important conversation that we need to have. Educate your family members who choose to be ignorant. If they piss you off, draw your line. But continue to mask up, continue to sanitize, continue to restock and keep your family members safe. Thanks for listening to another episode of Fuck the What If. We'll chat again next Monday. Have a great rest of your day.